over the past week, over the past year. He was his feud with the MMA world, with the UFC, with Dana White was our story of the year for 2021. And if you thought it was the story of the year in 2021, I can't even imagine how it's going to end up by the time this year is over, because 1 month, 31 days into the year, it has reached a whole other level. Last week, we know about all the stuff that went down. We shall talk about it all and then some with the one and only the problem child, Jake Paul, who's been referenced a few times on the show today by different people. Jake, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man.
By the way, is that still a Christmas tree up?
Yeah, bro. Every day is a gift.
That's right.
So I keep my Christmas tree up every day. I love it though. It's lit.
All year you keep it up?
I'll probably take it down like around Valentine's Day. Okay. But when I was a kid growing up, we would keep it for a while.
I'm not Christian. I don't celebrate Christmas. I love Christmas, and I'm always asking people like, how long do you keep the tree up? So I couldn't help but notice yours was still up, January 31st.
Whenever I see it, it like reminds me to be in like the holiday spirit.
Yeah.
Just have a good mood. So.
No, I love it. And for the record, I just want to let you know, because I saw you tweeting a lot about it. No diaper, the bowel movements are good. But I appreciate all the tweets and the commentary. I never thought my bowel movements would be so much in the news, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Part of the reason I was tweeting is to warn you so that you wouldn't shit yourself.
Now,
but I was thinking you might shit yourself. I don't know.
No.
I'm glad to hear that you're okay.
All was good. I appreciate it. Huge week for you. Before we get into all the Dana stuff, the UFC stuff, congratulations on being a huge part in getting the Katie Taylor-Amanda Serrano fight done. Biggest women's fight in boxing history, without a shadow of a doubt. April 30th, big Madison Square Garden, not the Hulu Theater. It's a big deal. And I know you were involved, and I know Nikisa was involved. Could I ask, in your humble opinion, does this fight not get done if you're not involved? Are you the reason why this fight got done?
I think a big reason, but, I owe all the credit to Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano for being, two of the pound for pound greatest female fighters to have ever lived. And, they've been trying to put this fight on. I think they just needed that extra sauce. So it's all of our efforts in getting this done. And it's what needed to happen for women's boxing to progress it forward and get women paid more. And so it's historic in many ways, in more than one way. And I don't want to take any credit, I think Amanda Serrano is an amazing person, and I'm willing to help her in any way possible, whether it's being a friend or being a manager. So I give them the credit.
Are you at liberty to say how much Amanda is going to make for this fight?
Yeah, they're getting paid in the seven figures, which is historic. It's never happened. For women, guaranteed seven figures plus, pay-per-view. Obviously, it's going to be a massive pay-per-view. So this is life-changing, I think, for both girls, and especially I know for Amanda Serrano, because I heard her stories about how much she was getting paid since day one. And that's what really initially sparked my desire to want to help her, because I was like, how is the only boxer to win more in more weight divisions championships? Manny Pacquiao. You're in second place behind Manny Pacquiao with 7 weight divisions where they won championships, and you're getting paid like $20,000. This is absurd.
And so even in her recent fights, nowhere near what she's going to make in this fight.
She's still, her last fight was still a career high.
Okay.
But now it's a whole nother level, and I'm excited. This is going to be a massive fight. It's going to be so big. Everyone's talking about, the historic moments and the money. And I agree. Like, let's talk about all of those things, but I'm excited to see the fight. Like, I'm excited to see the two greatest of their craft in a similar weight division going at it. that's what I'm most excited for.
Yes. I mean, you never see the top pound for pound fighter fight someone who's number 3. Katie's number 1. She's number 3. This has never happened. Also, first time in the history of Madison Square Garden that 2 female boxers headline a show, which is insane when you think about all the fights that have happened at MSG. You and Eddie Hearn co-promoting, I think will be very fun. How do you feel about Mr. Hearn? I know he was one of the first guys to really kind of accept you and embrace you and work with you when you were coming up. Do you have a good relationship with him? Are you gonna maybe relish the verbal sparring if there is any with him leading up to this fight? Because I saw you put up a story. Who's gonna promote it better, you or him? So I was wondering if that's to come.
Yeah, there'll be a little bit of a rivalry, I think, on the promoter side, but I love Eddie. I think he's a sharp, intelligent, handsome guy. And it's all love. And he was one of the first to sort of believe in this, whatever you want to call it, YouTube boxing is what it really first started as. And he saw the power behind it. So I give him a ton of credit for, taking some gambles there initially early on. Before he's an innovator, he's ahead of the curve. He's a visionary, and that's why he's done so well, and that's why he, I would say today is the most famous outspoken boxing promoter.
Another one, and last thing on this fight is another famous outspoken boxing promoter is Mr. Bob Arum of Top Rank. He has a show the same night. The great Shakur Stevenson against Oscar Valdez. He recently said that, that's the one to watch. It's not really a competition, all that stuff. Did you see his comments? And if so, what did you make of them?
It's awful, and it's so lewd and disrespectful. And he's so behind the times. He's a dinosaur, and he's miseducated, and he clearly doesn't have women around him or powerful women around him to tell him like, yo, you're an idiot. Like, I don't even know if he has a wife, but if I was Bob Arum's wife and I heard him say that, I would smack him in the head. Like, it's disrespectful. It's just awful to see that. And I feel bad for, any female fighter that is signed to him. I believe Michaela Turner signed to him.
Mayor.
I feel bad for her, and how could you be signed to a promoter who literally says that you're basically worthless? Mm. It's a huge issue. And Bob Arum has done a bunch of stuff that I don't like, when he, verbally, like, basically assaulted Mike Coppinger. And like, he's just like a egotistical old man who's behind the times and is, I guess, losing grasp of reality in the world around him.
So that was one of the big things that you did last week. The other big thing, and there were multiple, was dropping the diss track on Friday morning. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, and I just wanted to clear the air like a little bit too. With people are like, oh, which fight are we going to watch? Shakur Stevenson or Oscar Valdez, or are we going to watch Serrano and Taylor? The answer is both fights. Both are amazing fights, and unfortunately they're on the same date. I was talking to Shakur and I was like, yo, I'll walk out with you for your fight. Like, I'm so excited to come. And then, days later, they're like, okay, the only date we can get from Madison Square Garden is April 30th. And so I was like, I texted Shakur. I was like, yo, I'm sorry. Like, this just so happened to line up on the same dates. You know how this is. And so there's no beef. There's no rivalry there. It's really what Bob Arum said. And I'm in full support of people watching both fights. And I, by the way, will try to be watching both fights. And I know that the promotions aren't going to run them at the same time. So I'm still going to watch their fight, on my iPhone while I'm at the event, if it lines up with the times correctly.
And I appreciate that. So the diss track, why did you make this?
It was, first and foremost, it's needed, and people seem to forget that Dana White started harassing me and talking about me before I started going at him, saying my fights are fixed, or I'm not fighting people in my weight class, and basically criticizing me, saying I'm not a real fighter. And so that's really where the drama started. It was in one of his post-fight press conferences. And from that moment on, the feud has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've gotten increasingly more involved in the fight game and increasingly more involved in like passionate about fighter pay. And I said it a while ago, like, yo, there needs to be a fighters union. And I am trying to, there's a saying, coup d'etat. I believe it's a French saying, yes. And it's like basically like an overthrow of the government or the authoritative figures. I am trying to spark the coup d'etat. I want to be, one of the players involved in making change and showing how mistreated fighters are, both on boxing and on the MMA side. It just, Dana White seems to be, the most prominent and most malicious person in the space and the biggest culprit. And because of our feud, I'm going after him, and everyone feels the same way. I know all the fighters feel the same way. Francis Ngannou, like, it's just absurd what he's doing, like getting paid $600K. Meanwhile, the heavyweight boxers are getting paid 30 million, 10 million. So I'm trying to spark a revolution.
It just so happens, by the way, that I speak French. I'm from French-speaking Quebec. So if you mention this word in other interviews, can I tell you, you did get the definition right, but the P is actually silent. So it's coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat.
Great.
There you go. Just, I'm just looking out. But yes,
it's a great saying though.
It means what you said it meant.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do. And just be one of the spokespersons. I have a platform, right? And I've always tried to use it for good, whether or not people will agree with that. When you really boil down the facts, I've always used my platform for good. And that's all I'm continuing to currently do. And it just so happens I'm one of the very few people who can actually speak upon this subject, because everyone else in some way or another seems to need Dana White for some reason, but I don't. And I think he's an awful person. No one I've ever met has anything good to say about him. So when there's people like that in power, we as the small militia, I guess, need to take matters into our own hands to get shit done. And I'm sparking a change that, this shit might not matter for 10 or 20 or 30 more years, but eventually there will be this change, and that's all we could push for.
So one of the main things that I get anytime I talk about you, this story, and not only do I get it, but I just see it being written about, tweeted about, and all that is, and I'm sure you see it as well, oh, he doesn't really mean this. This isn't really sincere. He doesn't really care about fighter pay or fighters. He's just, he's just leeching on. He's just trying to make a name for himself. He's a grifter. I see this constantly, and it's impossible for me to say what you mean and don't mean. But what is your response to people? Because that's the main thing I hear. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really mean this. What is your response to people who believe that?
You'll see, because I'm not letting off the gas anytime soon, and I've spent a bunch of my own money on this matter and pushing for these things, and I wake up every day with it as a purpose on my mind. And I think I've done more than enough to show that for women's boxing, fighter pay, equality, fighters, boxing promoters, I've done more than enough in terms of actions. And, even my cards previously, almost every fighter that has been on it, it's their highest payday always. So I've gotten Tyron Woodley his highest payday, Ben Askren his highest payday. So these fighters who are always mistreated, I'm taking action, and I'm backing it up, and I'm not letting off anytime soon. And I actually care. I actually give a fuck, and I've done too much. And it's nothing to me. Like, I like this. I enjoy this. I feel the responsibility to be a part of this movement, and it's getting traction. And that's exactly what I wanted. I'm excited to continue to be one of the leaders of this conversation. So for people that don't think I'm serious about it, you'll see. We're already in talks with lawyers to begin. We're talking to lawyers to begin a process to start a fighters union. So I'm not spending all my time and money. Like, bro, I could do anything. I made $45 million this last year. I have a badass girlfriend. I have Lamborghinis. I can go to the club. I could, go to dinners. I could hang out with rappers, and I could retire. I could do my crypto investments. I could do all and give up on all of this, but I have everything I want in life. But what gives me a lot of pleasure is helping other people. And I notice that it brings back more for me in the long run. So for people to think that I'm taking all these times out of my day to, do all of these things behind the scenes, there's so much stuff that people don't even see. They see the interviews and they see me talk about it, but the actual like nitty gritty, getting my elbows dirty, like I'm in there. I'm in the weeds, and people will see that.
And so just as a follow-up, why do you care so much? Because that was actually what I was going to bring up. You made all this money last year. You've got a great life. It doesn't seem like you need to bother yourself with any of this. And to be honest, like there's a lot of people within MMA who are like, oh, and at least initially, like, leave us alone. We don't want your help. And yet here you are, as you said, putting your foot on the gas even more. So why does this matter to you so much?
I've said it for a while, and I realized this at an early age. There was a moment where like I had a giant mansion and I had like everything I wanted in life that I dreamed about, and I was unhappy. And I realized at that moment that life was more about purpose and passion and doing what you love every single day. And that's going to be more fulfilling in the long run than it is about getting some big check. And I realized that every single, person who has left the impact on this earth, you never talk about how much money they made. You don't talk about how much money did Gandhi make? How much money did Martin Luther King make? How much money did Muhammad Ali make? No one cares. What people care about is the impact that they left. And for me, that is more important than, how much money I made. I want to be talked about for centuries, and I want my voice and my opinions, and I want to fight for the right things. And then not just in fight sports, I'm out here trying to inspire kids, against bullying and so on and so forth. All of this stuff is it's a passion of mine. And I believe that there's been a void where no one from our generation has really talked about a lot of these things in a major way. And I'm filling that void because A, I can, and B, I'm passionate about it.
You mentioned with the diss track, the proceeds are going to the fighters. Could you explain what you mean by that? How, I think some people don't understand that you can make money off of YouTube, but like, how is that going to go to the fighters, and via which vehicle?
Yeah, so we're just putting it to any funds or foundations that help fighters, and donating it to different various organizations. And we actually fractionalized the music video as an NFT, which I guess I'm announcing this now. I was going to announce it like later today, but we're fractionalizing it as an NFT so people could actually like donate and own a piece of the music video. And the donations, again, are going to various organizations that help fighters in any which way.
Are you surprised that you did not get a response, at least publicly, from Dana White?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think he learned his lesson when he, responded, a couple of weeks ago while I was on vacation. He responded with his like little selfie video where he was red as a crab and clearly pissed off. And it just made himself, first of all, brought more attention to everything. And then he made himself look really stupid. And I think he is now being advised to just like not respond. And it silenced everyone. What could they say? The first line is, first of all, Masvidal, you ain't rich. 50 fights for $5 million, that ain't shit. Like, what's he gonna say? You know, what can anybody say? I think it shut people up, and you know, there's a lot of important messages in there, and it spoke for itself.
Privately, do you hear from a lot of fighters these days? Publicly, you know, not a lot of them are tweeting the video, supporting it. I speak to a lot who say, I love this. This is the truth. This is no cap, as the kids say, with a capital P, just for the record. No cap, pushing P. I don't know if I got that right.
Okay.
Did I get that right? I don't know. But do you hear from fighters? Are they DMing you? Are they texting you? Are they telling you, like, please keep this up. We support you. We got your back, but I can't say X, Y, and Z?
Yes. There are a lot of fighters, a lot of big fighters in the UFC who message me privately and say, we love this. This is hilarious. Keep on going. But I can't support this publicly.
Does that bum you out?
No. But I don't want them to sacrifice their, you know, they have to put food on their family's table, you know, and like I said earlier, I happen to have a platform to be able to do this. So I accept the responsibility and I'm going to do it. I've made that decision. I'm going to war and I'm not backing down no matter what happens. And I don't need the fighters in the UFC to support this. And behind the scenes, it'd be great for them to support it and talk about it and push for these movements. And obviously, if there's a fighters union created, everyone in the UFC should join it, you know, to create power and to create a better position for themselves and a better life for themselves. But I don't need them to support a diss track or anything like that publicly, because they're just going to fuck themselves over. And I don't want that. I want them to win and make more money.
And just curious, when you had that back and forth at the very beginning of the year with Dana, with the videos, you're on vacation, hanging out with Drake. I was a little bit jealous, if I'm being honest. That's my guy, Drake. You know, both Canadian, Jewish. That was impressive. Did you ever hear anything? Obviously, he didn't respond when you were saying like 2 days left, 3 days left, all that. Did you ever hear anything privately about the offer that you countered with? Was there any discussions about any of this? You know, you doing the drug test, him, you know, with the numbers and all that. Was there anything discussed that we didn't know about or hear about?
No,
nothing.
No, all of it was out there, and I mean, it was pretty obvious. Like, but look, I offered to retire from boxing to fight in the UFC, so that all the other fighters could get paid, you know, more than the 12K minimum, and obviously a number of other things. But it was such a big statement, and there was no response. And then Dana responded, and it was like, "You completely denied my offer." I'm like, "No, I didn't. I completely accepted it." Like, are you okay? Like, I know you do cocaine and such, but like, are you high right now? Like, sober up and realize I accepted every part of your offer. And I said you could drug test me whenever you want. No, there's no problem there.
At the beginning of last week, you make the announcement that you've invested in Endeavor. And this, you know, created all kinds of discussion. And in addition to that, we're going to hopefully team up with this engine number one, which, you know, I will admit, I'm not smart when it comes to this stuff. So I had to read up on them and learn all about it. And people were like, well, I'm going to buy stock in Google and I'm going to walk in there and tell them what's what. And I'm going to buy stock. Could you explain what your intentions are here? Why did you do this? Why did you feel like this was worth doing?
Yeah. So we invested a small amount, like low six figures, into Endeavor as a starting point, just to get our foot in the door through Antifund, my venture capital fund. And it's simple. We want to go in and, you know, push for everything in their company to be treated fairly. And that's where Engine One, you know, sort of comes in, and why I brought them into the picture, because that's like sort of what they specialize in. is going in and looking at companies' ESG, environmental, social, and governance, and making sure everything is up to speed, up to par. Are their employees being treated right? How is the company ran? Is everything good? Is there fair pay? Blah, blah, blah. So that's what our intention is. And we're currently starting to work on a white paper to, break down Endeavor's stock and, what's good, what's bad, what are they doing wrong, to be released to the public. And again, it's to shake the tree, let's look under the hood. And now I'm an official owner technically of the UFC in a very small way, but now my foot's in the door and I'm going to shake the tree and continue to shake the tree from all angles.
Based on the conversations that you've had, are you confident that you can bring about change, like do these things that you're trying to do by investing in the company? And are you willing to invest even more to maybe make?
Yeah. 100% willing to invest more. And that's where the conversation is going to sort of open up. Like I said, this is a jumping off point, and there's a lot of interest into creating maybe a group of people to come in and invest more in a major way. But this is a jumpstart, and things like this, the changes like this are very minuscule. It takes years, right? But time flies, and a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when when that fly is still landing all over you and it's landing on your food and blah, 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 it's annoying, right? The fly is annoying. So we're that fly now, and they have to deal with us. And I'm going to get a bigger army of flies, and eventually there's going to be change.
Any update on Engine One? Like, are they behind this, or have you been able to?
They haven't officially joined on board yet, but there's discussions.
Okay, so we have that, and then on Monday, I'm kind of going backwards here. We had something happen on Friday, on Thursday. I mean, it was a really big week for you. Monday, I had Francis Ngannou on the show, and he said that as he was going to the arena at around 9 p.m. Pacific, his manager, Mark Helmartin, received an email from the UFC lawyers about basically saying that, you're in conversations with your promotional group, right? You and your business partner, Nikisa Bedarian, and they need to cease all of this. And there's these alleged talks. And now you even said in your statement to MMA Fighting that you believe your business partner Nikisa received the same letter. What's going on here?
Yes, I mean, it's just crazy what's happening. I think what is happening is the UFC realizes, like, were these flies creating havoc, and we haven't had any communication with them. It's hilarious. Like, what am I going to do? Hey, Francis, want to fight? Like, Francis would squash me. So the fact that they think we're talking to them, it just shows like Dana's insecure in finding any way to come after us. Most Valuable Promotions, Nikisa, me, Francis, anyone who is, sort of going against his narrative and what he wants to do. But, he should really be going after Bob Arum and Tyson Fury. They're the ones who are saying, like, let's do a fight. We'll fight Francis. We'll fight. Like, I never said anything like this. And it's absurd. Imagine Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, sending LeBron James a lawsuit or like a threat to sue while he's on the way to the arena to play in the NBA championships. And then LeBron wins and that he doesn't get handed the trophy, and the NBA commissioner like disappears. That's what this is the equivalent to. And so it just shows the type of person that Dana White is. And then it's embarrassing, and they're insecure, and clawing. And I'm sure the UFC lawyers are watching this interview. So hey guys, you'll find nothing. And I feel bad for you, and I feel bad that you have to work for a capitalistic pig.
How do you feel about the Francis situation? Like, do you think that this could be? I mean, you're very interested, obviously, in Fighter Pay. I'm sure you're following it very closely. Could he be the one, the heavyweight champion? Could he be the one to bring about change, or do you think he needs more people than that?
Uh, it's one person at a time, and every person that gets added to the movement, it's great. And I think he very well can make change. And I feel like he already has by helping to shake the tree with these conversations. And people are realizing, he got paid $600K for this fight. And meanwhile, the heavyweights in boxing are making $30 million. So there's clearly a big problem here and a big discrepancy. And where is all that money going? I'll tell you, it's going into the UFC's pockets. And there's unfortunately nothing right now that the fighters can do about it. And really the only answer is for all of us to band together on both boxing and on the MMA side as one unit and say, hey, we're not fighting unless changes are made. And it's easier said than done, but that's what I'm going to push for to try and make happen.
Now, of course, I'd be remiss if I don't ask you about your actual fighting career as well. There's so much going on, but we don't even talk about, your I mean, your career. You're undefeated. You finished the year with that incredible knockout of Tyron Woodley. There was a story that came out, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, that you were in talks to fight Mike Tyson. Is that a real thing?
No, it's not. It's not real. I would fight him though, but there were never any discussions about that. Like he said it himself. Like I saw him in St. Bart's on New Year's, and it was very cordial. We took a picture together, and like just he's a friend. So if we were to fight, like who knows? But it would be weird. Like I don't know if I would really want that, but there's been no discussions.
As of right now, last day of January, when would you predict you'll fight again?
It's hard to say, man. There's a lot going on, like you said,
Yeah.
in other aspects of my life. I'm going to do these press conferences over the next, 2 weeks here to help with the promotion around Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. And I'm very busy on the business side of things with my venture capital fund. So I haven't even gotten back into the gym or been training at all. So I need to have a discussion with my coaches. But what month? I don't know. Probably like I would say August, September.
Okay.
Maybe later.
So it might be a bit of a break for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure it out, and obviously if something, if the stars align in some sort of way, or I have a change of heart, then things can obviously move around. But right now I don't feel like that motivated to just go right back into another training camp.
Is there a front runner right now? The interesting thing to me, at least from this, vantage point, there's no real like obvious choice to fight you next. Is there a front runner in your mind?
There really isn't, and that's part of why there's no urgent or immediate rush to make something happen. I'm sort of being a little bit patient and just not trying to like force anything. Because like you said, there's even in my head when I wake up in the morning, like who would motivate me to get out of bed every morning right now and train? And there's really not an answer to that right now.
It seems from the MMA perspective, if you keep that, angle going, Anderson Silva seems to be the only one available at the moment. Of course, there's guys who could be available down the line. Do you have interest in that fight?
Yes, definitely. I would love that fight. And interesting story. I think he was the first like celebrity I ever saw. So right when MMA was blowing up, my dad was like super big fan, and we went to this local MMA event, and they must have paid Anderson Silva to come because it was like in Ohio. So like I don't know why he would have been there, but I actually asked for his autograph, and we took a picture with him, and like I was like this tall. I'm like maybe like 12 years old. But I think he was the first celebrity that I met. And so it'd be fun to like bring it back full circle and fight, I guess, someone who was one of my first idols.
Right. What about, I had Tommy on the show a couple of weeks ago. Is there any chance you revisit that, Tommy Fury? He said he wanted to do it in March. It doesn't sound like that,
March. This guy is on drugs. Like he's delusional, and he sort of missed his chance and his opportunity. And I sort of want him to fight Tyron Woodley and see what happens there, because I think Tyron would knock Tommy out. And so I almost want to have them fight, because Tommy, people only know him because of me. And so like, I want him to go get some of your own fans or clout, or go do some other thing. And then maybe we could run it back after that.
Anyone who is a full-time boxer that interests you? I've heard you talk about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Any guys in boxing that you kind of have your eye on who are just straight up boxers, nothing more, nothing less?
Yeah. Julio Chavez is on the list, of people we're talking about, and I'm down for that fight, for sure. And I think for many reasons, it makes a lot of sense. Him and Anderson just fought.
Yeah.
So it's like they were just, relevant in the fight world again. And other than that, though, it's like there's really no boxers who have a big enough of a name to make an interesting enough event that are anywhere really near my weight class or experience level. It'd basically be like fighting for the world title would be the only fight that would sell. And I don't even know like who the cruiserweight champion is. I think Canelo was like supposed to fight him or something, but it just doesn't make any sense. It's my 6th fight and this guy's a world champion. So no one really has a big enough name in the boxing world other than, maybe Chavez Jr.
I saw you practicing your kicks. People are trying to get you over to the MMA side of things. Is there legitimate interest there? I mean, again, like we can't be dumb here. You're making a crap load of money and there's really no reason to go over there. I mean, I laugh when I hear these promoters pick the promotion. I'm like, yeah, we'd love to have Jake come here. I mean, like, yeah, Jake could do his own show. Like he doesn't really necessarily need you, but great. Is there a legitimate interest? Forget about for who, but just to try it one day, MMA.
Yeah. There is, and not in the near future, but in like the medium term. Like I would need to practice my kicks and a little bit more on the jiu-jitsu side for like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years before I would do that, unless the money was really right. But like no one's brought anything to the table that's interesting enough. Like even Khabib said, "Oh, we offered him a deal." It's not true. They never offered me anything. Like Eagle FC, I don't think has ever even done an event. So I don't even know if they have, not to hate on anything they're doing, but it's like, we're talking, I would need more than what I make in boxing to risk going into MMA right now.
Right.
So, people would have to come with $25-35 million to even start a conversation with me.
Yeah, and no one's done that yet, right? I mean, because he did say that they had their first American show on Friday, Eagle FC, and he said afterwards that he reached out and sent you an offer. I know PFL has talked about, I know Bellator has talked about. No one's actually thrown something your way that is of interest, right?
Correct.
Okay. I was thinking it's a shame the one big one that it feels like two ships in the night. Like it was going to be such. It was. I think it could have done bigger numbers than you and excuse me, than McGregor and Mayweather. I think it definitely would have done bigger numbers than, Mayweather and Pacquiao. I think it probably would have done like 5 million, 6 million buys, but it doesn't feel like he's attainable right now because he feels like he's bigger than you. I was just going to say,
if Khabib wants, who?
You versus Dylan Dennis was the one I was talking about, the big money fight.
Oh. Bro, that guy is like, he's like, he needs help. He needs to see his therapist before he sees me. But
Joke,
I would fight Khabib.
I don't know if you caught the joke. That was a joke that you would do better than.
I
was kidding. Okay,
I thought you were being serious.
Wow, you really thought I was being serious, Jay? Come on, all this time.
Sorry.
Oh my god.
Sorry, everything in this interview we've been very
serious. I know it's been a business interview. I was trying. It was yeah. No.
I would fight Khabib in MMA if they wanted to make that offer.
Really?
Because that would be like exciting. Like that would excite me, and especially like if I had more time to train, that'd be a massive fight, right? Like
sure,
probably 1 million, 2 million pay-per-view buys, and all I would have to do is just work on my wrestling skills because I could outstrike him standing up.
I mean, maybe for Eagle, he's still, I think, contractually tied to the UFC, so it would probably have to be with them. But they have been known to co-promote. I said on the record that I think you versus Conor might be the highest selling pay-per-view that could be made right now in combat sports. You versus Nathan Diaz. It's interesting that all the biggest fights are you versus an MMA fighter, but it seems to be that's where you're linked to, despite the fact that you're in the world of boxing. I would imagine you agree with.
Yeah, and look, the reason the UFC is so successful, and this is something that I want to get across, is like people think I like the UFC. I think what they've done is great. They just need to get better. And I think what Dana's done to build MMA is he's done good. But now it's time to, evolve more. I don't hate the UFC. I think what they've built is awesome. But that it goes to show like the most famous combat sports athletes are coming out of the UFC because they do such a great job of promoting their fighters. So really all the boxers, are the heavyweights right now, Canelo. And then there's like the lightweight division that's like on fire. And you got the Ryan Garcias and Devin Haney and George Gambosos and Tank, because they are all pretty popular online. So like those are the known boxers that any regular person who's not a fight fan could name walking around. So that's why there's this intersection of like, who do I fight? There's a very short list of who makes sense and who could make a lot of money. So that's why it makes sense for me to fight these MMA fighters, is because they've just gotten promoted better over their careers than the boxing promoters have promoted these boxers.
So as we round third here, I know coming up you have the press conferences. I believe there's one this week in New York, next week in the UK. Obviously, this is a big deal for you. You're going to be heavily involved, it seems, in the promotion. As far as the union stuff, the fighter pay stuff, the Dana White stuff, can you what is the next play here? What's the game? I mean, you've done a lot in the last week, so it's not like you have to drop another song tomorrow. But what is the goal here? How are we looking at the next couple months? Because you said it yourself, you're not going to let up. It's not like you're just doing this and walking away. It sounds like it's very top of mind for you.
Yeah, for sure. And there's just a lot of the next steps are, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that needs to be done now, and talking to lawyers and talking strategy and hires and how are we going to do this. It's a massive undertaking. This isn't something you just like stand up. It has to be done properly and in a very professional way, a very corporate way, and with amazing people. And I would want, other big fighters, both on the boxing side and on the MMA side, to, join the council and the committee of the fighters union. People like, GSP, on the boxing side, I would ask for Canelo's involvement. I'm friends with basically everyone in the lightweight division. I would get them involved. So, it's a massive undertaking. So right now there's a lot of things that need to happen behind the scenes. And other than that, we're just going to continue to shake the tree publicly and use our platform for good.
Can you rank them for us? Top 3 greatest diss tracks. Dana White diss track, Hit 'Em Up by the great Tupac Shakur, may he rest in peace. Drake, back to back. Drake's had a couple. Is there one that I'm missing? Where would you rank them?
Yeah, I feel like for our generation, like back to back is probably number one. Same with, but also like Summer 16. I'm a Drake fan, through and through. So like all of his sneak disses, like even his responses to Kanye on Certified Lover Boy are just fire. So probably back to back, Summer 16. There's some other ones that I like, but I don't want to like get myself into crossfire because I'm friends with a lot of rappers.
It's like he said, I learned the game from William Wesley. You can never check me back to back. I could spit. People don't know this, but I got.
You can rap.
I've been told. People sometimes they stop me in the airport. They say, "Are you Drizzy? Are you Aubrey?" Because
the beard.
I say, I appreciate it. Just because we're Jewish and Canadian doesn't mean we're the same person. But he's great. Tell him I say hi. By the way,
have you ever heard 5 a.m. in Toronto?
Oh yeah, tremendous.
That's the best one.
Yeah, he's the man. Well, keep it up, my friend, and congrats on a big week for you guys. The fight is huge. I can't wait for it. April 30th, Madison Square Garden. Biggest fight in women's boxing history. First time in Madison Square Garden history that 2 females are headlining a boxing event. That is nuts. And that is a huge deal. And I repeat, not the Hulu Theater we're talking about. We're talking about Big MSG where the Knicks and Rangers play. And that is important to note. Like Kambosos against Teofimo Lopez was at the Hulu Theater, for goodness sake. This at the freaking MSG at the Mecca. So congrats on that.
Get your tickets before they sell out.
Yeah, when are they on sale?
They're up. There's a pre-sale live right now, so you just gotta Google it. But everyone better turn up there. If you're in New York and you're a fan of me, I'm gonna be there. If you're a fan of women's boxing, this is a historic event. If you're a fan of Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, y'all need to be there. So
I'll be there with my case of Prime, drinking in the front row. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my boy Logan.
And Logan will probably be there too with Prime. So
maybe we can take another selfie together, ringside. My God, I want to know what he's doing with that picture. I heard maybe an NFT, something. We'll see what happens. Jake, I always appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Congrats on a big weekend. Good luck coming up with the promotion of the fight.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, there he is, the problem child, Jake Paul, joining us, kind enough to join us after a very big week. We had to talk about a lot of different things. We had to address a lot of different things. And, personally, if I were to vote Hit 'Em Up, greatest of all time, we all know how I feel about Hit 'Em Up. Hit 'Em Up, Helwani.